Washington. She has a long and diverse career as a registered nurse. She loves to travel, and in the last few years has been to China, Turkey, Eastern Europe, as well as Italy. She writes short stories, flash fiction, memoir, and when not working on her novel, she is working on those things. Her work is forthcoming in Voice Catcher and The Gravity of the Thing. Please give a warm welcome to Valerie Wagner.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming. Can you hear me okay? Okay. This is a memoir piece. It's called White Balloons. It was Sunday. I lay in my bed flipping through the pages of a highlight magazine, bored stiff. Across from me on the other bed was my younger sister, Vicki. She sat with her legs in a V with crayons and a coloring book spread between them, lazily coloring. The window was open and I could smell spring. It smelled green like grass and frogs. I could hear the faint sounds of kids playing. It was that time on Sunday when families were coming home from church. Sunday wasn't for church at our house. Sunday was for my parents staying in their bedroom late and us waiting for them to get up so we could go off to play. At 8 years old, I didn't know the meaning yet of the word agnostic, but that's what my dad was, or atheist, and that was what my mom and grandmother were. The rule on Sunday was to let my parents sleep in. We could eat cereal and watch cartoons, but we were not to bother them. Across the drive that separated our row house lived Linda Dorner. She was a blue-eyed, blonde-haired girl, and she was Catholic. Her family always went to church on Sunday. Linda Dorner was the only child and had more toys than anyone I ever met. And she had the big toys, the ones all the kids wanted to play on. The swing set, the slide, the high-sided swimming pool, the bowling machine. Her yard in summer was like a mini amusement park, and there were always lots of kids there. Linda Dorner wasn't a nice girl. She was what we called spoiled, and she was a brat. You'd be playing a board game with her on her front porch, and if she was losing, she would suddenly say she had to go in. She'd get up and just leave you sitting there. One time we were playing bowling, and it was my turn, and every time I tried to stand the bowling pins up, she'd wiggle that machine to make the pins fall. She did things like that. Linda Dorner loved to torment me. I don't know why I put up with it. I didn't like her, not really. Maybe it's because of the toys and other kids and the feeling that if I didn't go, I'd miss something. Maybe it's because she lived right across the drive. This one day I was at her house playing. We started to argue about something as we did, when all of a sudden, out of the blue, she blurted out, "You know, when you die, you're going to hell. When I die, I'm going to heaven." This came as a shock. First of all, I never thought much about anything like that, and second, how would she know? I ignored her at first, like I didn't hear her. I did that sometimes when she was snotty. The thing is, she said it with such conviction that I was really curious why she said it, so I asked her. "Mother said you're going to hell because you weren't baptized and you're not a Christian." She was giving me that superior nose in the air look. How she knew that information about me not being baptized, I did not know. I did know that Dad said that Linda Dorner's mother was a gossip and a busybody, so maybe she had some kind of secret way of finding out these things. Dad always said he didn't believe in indoctrinating children with religion before they had a brain to decide for themselves. I didn't understand all of what that meant other than not going to church wasn't anything to be ashamed about. But the truth is, I had never considered the implications, like going to hell. After Linda Dorner said that to me, I kept thinking about it. My 8-year-old brain kept puzzling it, trying to figure it out like a math problem. What I came up with was this. If I was going to hell, my mom and dad and sister and grandmother were going to hell too. I might have been able to accept the rest of the family going to hell, but my grandmother? I just couldn't reconcile that. You see, my grandmother was the best person I knew. She was the most patient, kind, helpful, thoughtful, selfless person ever. She had a big cookie jar she kept filled to the brim, and we could invite anyone over for cookies and milk any time. Her house was always open to friends and family. People were always stopping by to have a cup of coffee and talk to Grandma about their troubles and worries. She was a good listener, wise and kind, and I'm sure she helped a lot of people. I finally came to the conclusion that Linda Dorner was full of it. And if heaven was a place that she was going, but none of the people I loved were going, then I didn't want to be there anyway. Sometimes waiting for our parents on Sundays became unbearable. We would make up excuses to knock on their door to ask for something, hoping they would get out. It was tricky business though, because Dad was moody. Sometimes he would get really mad and start yelling at us, and other times he would be in a good mood and be nice. And sometimes we would get a special surprise, white balloons. Dad had these special white balloons that he would blow up and toss out the bedroom door to us. They were unique balloons. Never saw any others like them. They were white and round and had a funny little finger-like protrusion coming out of them. I thought it was mysterious the way he kept those balloons hid in his room, and the way he so warily let us play with them, and the way he warned us never to take those balloons outside. One time when I was snooping around their bedroom and I found them, they were in the sliding cabinet in the back of the bed in a big white plain box. I could read in a small print on the side of the box that said Trojan, 1 gross, 48. I opened the white box and inside were smaller boxes and inside each were 3 balloons. At first they didn't look like balloons, they looked like white rubber rings. And when I opened the box and picked one up, I got powder on my fingers and onto the bed. I got scared I'd get in trouble. I hurriedly put everything back and brushed the powder off the bed. Luckily I didn't get caught. On this particular boring Sunday, I bothered my parents once already and Dad had given us balloons. But that was a while ago. I wanted to play outside in the worst way. I got up the nerve and knocked on the bedroom door again very lightly. I heard some rustling and then my mother came to the door with her dark hair up in a loose twist, her silky apricot robe wrapped around her. She put her finger to her lips for quiet. Dad was sleeping. I asked if we could play outside and she said yes, but to stay in the yard. My sister and I scrambled to the door, slipped on our flip-flops, and as we were about to go outside, I saw Linda Dorner through the screen door. She was in front of our house and she was sitting on a brand new two-wheeler bike. It was pink and had silver streamers on the handlebars. I said to Vicki, "Get the balloons." Linda Dorner rode back and forth in front of our house on her new bike. Her blonde pigtails were perched on either side of her head and they swayed as she rode. She always got pink sunburn on her head where her hair was parted. But I didn't look at her. Vicki and I ignored her and just played with our balloons. We tossed them up in the air and laughed like we were having more fun than we really were. Linda Dorner came closer to see what we were doing. "Those are sure weird balloons," she said in her snotty voice. We ignored her. She got off her bike and fiddled with the back training wheel, most likely trying to bring more attention to her bike. Still, we didn't say anything. We just played with the balloons. Then I saw her mother's head looking out the window, in that way she always did, like a chicken head, back and forth. It was only seconds before she was before us. I will never forget the contorted look of mixed horror and disbelief that twisted up Linda Dorner's mother's face. Then she looked at our balloons. In no time, she had led her daughter home. Vicki and I were baffled at what just happened. We couldn't understand what the upset was about. We heard our front door open, and there was Dad. He stood like a giant on the front porch, his arms crossed on his chest. He was giving us a really mean look. Then, in a stern voice, he flipped out our names: Vic, Val, Inside, Now. The now was the loudest. I knew then we were in big trouble.
Round of applause for all of our storytellers so far.